All right, a huge shift in European cybersecurity is here, and it's called the NIS2 Directive. For literally thousands of organizations, the rules of the game have totally changed. So in this explainer, we're going to break down exactly what you need to know to stay compliant and, stay secure. And let's just get right to it. The stakes could not be higher. We're talking about fines that can shoot up to 10 million euros or even 2% of your global revenue. Believe me, this is not just another regulation. It's a serious, top-level business risk that needs your full attention right now. But this didn't just appear out of thin air. To really get why NIS2 is such a big deal, we have to take a quick look at what came before it. So, the original NIS directive from 2016, it was a good first step, but it had some pretty big cracks. See, different EU countries implemented it in different ways, which led to this fragmented, kind of messy enforcement and some pretty vague rules. It created a really inconsistent security landscape. NIS2 was designed specifically to fix that, creating standardized obligations and much, much stricter enforcement across the entire EU. So, at the end of the day, the goal of NIS2 is to raise that cybersecurity bar for everyone. We're moving away from a patchwork of national efforts and toward a single high standard for all. It's really about building a stronger, more resilient digital market where every key player is pulling their own weight on security. And that brings us to the big question, does this apply to you? Because while the first directive was focused on a pretty narrow set of industries, NIS2, well, it casts a much, much wider net. NIS2 splits organizations into two main groups. You're either an essential entity or an important entity. Now, both have serious compliance work to do, but the essential entities, think critical infrastructure, they're the ones facing the absolute strictest oversight and, the highest potential penalties. And the scope here is incredibly broad. I mean, look at this. On the left, we've got the essential entities you'd probably expect, right? Energy, transport, banking. But it's the list of important entities on the right where the scope just explodes. We're now talking about manufacturing, food production, digital services, even waste management. If your sector is on this list, you absolutely need to be paying attention. Okay, so if you're in scope, what do you actually have to do? Let's break down the core obligations. Your compliance really rests on these 4 pillars. You've got to have robust risk management, clear corporate accountability, super strict incident reporting, and a solid plan for business continuity. We're going to touch on all of these. At its core, this directive demands a fundamental shift in how you think about security. It is no longer enough to just react to cyber incidents after they happen. NIS2 requires you to proactively identify, assess, and manage your cybersecurity risks all the time. This is about building resilience, not just being good at incident response. Now, to make this really concrete, the directive lays out a baseline of 10 essential security measures. And these aren't just suggestions, they are mandatory legal requirements. They cover everything from the technical stuff, like strong access control, yes, that means MFA, and encryption, to the more human elements, like securing your supply chain and providing regular cybersecurity training for all your staff. The goal is a complete security posture, not just ticking a few boxes. And if something does go wrong, the clock starts ticking immediately. You have just 24 hours to give authorities an early warning that a significant incident has happened. Within 72 hours, a full notification is due. And a month later, you have to hand in a final report. These are incredibly tight deadlines that demand a well-oiled incident response machine. All right, now for the part everybody wants to know about, the deadlines, and of course, the consequences for failing to comply. Let's just start with the headline number for essential entities, 10 million euros. That's the maximum fine, and it is absolutely designed to make sure cybersecurity is treated as a board-level issue. The penalties are severe for both categories. There's no question about it. For essential entities, fines can hit up to 10 million euros or 2% of your total worldwide annual revenue. And here's the key part, whichever is higher. For important entities, it's up to 7 million euros or 1.4%. The message from regulators is crystal clear. Non-compliance is a massive financial risk. So, what's the timeline look like? Well, the directive actually entered into force at the EU level way back in early 2023. The key deadline for member states to adopt it into their own national laws was October 17, 2024. Now that that date has passed, enforcement can begin at any time. The window for preparation has effectively closed. So let's bring this all together. With the stakes this high, What are your first steps? Where do you even begin on the path to compliance? And this is so important. The buck stops at the very top. NIS2 places direct, personal responsibility on senior management. What that means is, if an organization is found to be non-compliant, executives themselves can be held liable. We're talking personal fines or even being temporarily banned from their leadership roles. Now, the path forward can feel a bit overwhelming. I get it, but it really breaks down into manageable steps. You start by just confirming if you're in scope. Then you do a gap analysis to find your weaknesses. From there, you build out your strategy, you nail down your response plans, and you secure your supply chain, all while getting ready for eventual audits. And the good news is you don't have to figure all this out on your own. The EU's Agency for Cybersecurity, that's ENISA, has published a ton of technical guidance. They really break down each requirement into concrete actions, give you examples of the evidence you'll need, and offer practical tips to help you get it all done effectively. So let's be perfectly clear. NIS2 is no longer on the horizon, it is here. The legal frameworks are in place and enforcement is beginning. The only question that really remains is the one on your screen. Is your organization truly ready?